Chosen one, listen closely, because the reason you are hearing this right now is bigger than you understand. This moment is not an accident. You didn't stumble into this word. You were led here, drawn here, pulled here by the gentle hand of heaven. Something in your spirit has been stirring, tugging, reaching, and today God chose to respond. Today, heaven took notice of you. You may not think anything unusual happened. You may look at your day and see nothing, just routine, just effort, just trying to get through. But heaven saw something different. Heaven saw the quiet decisions nobody acknowledged. Heaven saw the thoughts you redirected, the temptation you resisted, the patience you practiced, the kindness you released even when your own heart felt tired. Heaven saw the way you chose to hold on to faith when doubt pressed against your mind. You didn't do these things for applause, but God saw them anyway. There is something powerful about the way you moved today. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't public. But it was sincere. And sincerity is the language heaven always responds to. God is not impressed by performance. He is moved by purity. He is touched by intention. He is stirred by a heart that chooses him quietly, softly, humbly. And today, even without realizing it, you touched the heart of God, not because you were perfect, not because you did everything right, not because you made a grand gesture, but because your heart leaned toward righteousness when no one else saw, because you chose goodness over bitterness, faith over frustration, patience over anger, compassion over hardness. You didn't think much of it, but God did. Heaven recorded it. Angels responded to it. And God whispered, "This one pleases me." Let that settle in you for a moment. God is pleased with you, not tolerating you, not disappointed in you, not waiting for you to do better, but pleased, delighted, moved, proud. There are days when you feel unseen, overlooked, or forgotten, but heaven has been watching you closely. Not watching to punish, not watching to criticize, watching because you belong to God, watching because you matter more than you know, watching because your effort means more to him than you realize. Think about the choices you made today, the ones that felt small, the ones that felt insignificant. Maybe you held your tongue when you wanted to respond. Maybe you forgave someone in your heart. Maybe you walked away from something that used to pull you in. Maybe you prayed, even though you didn't feel strong. Maybe you showed kindness, even though no one thanked you. These things don't look like much on the outside, but heaven sees differently. Heaven measures differently. What feels like survival to you feels like victory to God. You may think your faith is weak because you feel tired, but heaven calls you strong because you kept going. You may think your obedience is small because no one saw it, but heaven calls it significant because God saw it. You may think you're barely holding on, but heaven says you're standing in a strength you don't even recognize yet. There are moments in your life that felt like setbacks, but heaven saw growth. There are moments you cried, thinking you failed, but heaven saw transformation. There are moments you felt broken, but heaven saw you being built. God sees the journey you don't give yourself credit for. He sees the mountains you climbed silently. He sees the nights you prayed when everyone else slept. He sees the battles you fought within yourself and never mentioned to anyone. He sees the temptations you resisted, the forgiveness you gave, the humility you walked in, the love you showed, the faith you clung to. And today, heaven responded. Something in the spirit shifted around you, even if you didn't feel it. Angels leaned closer. Your name was spoken in the courts of heaven. Your obedience, your sincerity, your heart, it moved God. Think about that. The creator of the universe paused to look at you and said, "That one, that heart, that effort, I'm pleased." This moment is proof that you are not invisible to heaven. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. God has been watching the direction of your heart. People may judge your mistakes, but God sees your progress. People may overlook your growth, but God celebrates every step forward. People may not understand your journey, but God has walked every mile with you. You may think you're behind, but heaven knows you're right on schedule. You may feel spiritually quiet, but heaven has been loud with celebration over you. There is a tenderness in the way God sees you, a compassion, a patience, a love that doesn't waver when you fall short. When you feel distant from God, He is still close. When you feel weak, He still sees strength. When you feel imperfect, He still sees a heart reaching for Him. And it's that reaching, that sincerity, that touched heaven today. Your spirit has been growing. Even on days you felt stagnant, you've been maturing in ways you can't see yet. Your heart is changing. Your desires are shifting. Your mind is awakening. Your faith is deepening. Heaven sees all of it. And today, heaven acknowledged it. So breathe, rest. Let this truth settle into your soul. You are not walking unseen. You are not fighting alone. You are not growing unnoticed. Heaven is watching, celebrating, and responding. God is pleased with your direction. He is pleased with your heart. He is pleased with your endurance. You have touched heaven, and heaven has touched you back. Chosen one, you have no idea how proud God is of you today. You've been underestimating yourself for far too long. You look at your life, your choices, your actions, and you tell yourself they're small, ordinary, insignificant. But heaven has been watching you, and what you call small, God calls sacred. What you dismiss as nothing special, God records as spiritual strength. Every quiet decision you made today carried weight in the unseen realm, and you didn't even realize it. Think about the moment you smiled at someone who was hurting. You didn't think much of it. It lasted only seconds. But heaven saw a heart that still chooses compassion, even while fighting its own storms. That smile wasn't just a smile. It was ministry. It was healing. It was light breaking into someone's darkness. God saw that. Heaven applauded that. And the temptation you resisted, the one that tried to pull you back into old patterns, old habits, old weaknesses, you thought that resisting it was just another ordinary moment. But heaven celebrated it as a victory, a battle won, a step forward. The kind of victory angels rejoice over even though no one else knew the fight you were in. God saw your strength, even when you felt weak. He saw your discipline, even when you felt tempted. He saw your desire to honor Him, even when it cost you something internally. Then there was that tiny prayer you whispered when you were emotionally drained and spiritually exhausted. You didn't shout it. You didn't have long, beautiful words. You didn't feel powerful or holy. You prayed because you didn't know what else to do. You prayed because something inside you refused to give up. And heaven leaned in. Heaven responds not to the volume of the prayer, but to the sincerity of the heart. That tired prayer reached God louder than 1,000 perfect speeches. You chose kindness today when it would have been easier to choose anger. You chose patience when irritation tried to control your mood. You chose purity of thought when negativity tried to overwhelm you. You chose to hold your peace when your emotions wanted to speak recklessly. These things may feel small to you, but God saw the character behind them. He saw the maturity forming in you. He saw the spiritual strength rising quietly in your life. The world celebrates big accomplishments. Heaven celebrates growth. Heaven celebrates progress. Heaven celebrates obedience that happens when no one is watching. Heaven celebrates the little things because heaven knows nothing you do from a sincere heart is ever little. You keep thinking you're not doing enough. You keep thinking your journey is slow. You keep feeling like your effort is insignificant. But God sees the parts of your story that nobody else sees. The internal battles, the quiet sacrifices, the moments you chose righteousness simply because you love Him. That's why God calls you faithful. That's why heaven calls you strong. That's why angels have been moving around your life today, because your faithfulness, even in small things, has been noticed by heaven. There are things you overcame today that you didn't give yourself credit for, things that would have broken you in the past. But today you stood your ground. You didn't see that victory, but heaven did. There are thoughts you fought off today that used to control your mind, but today they lost their power. Heaven saw that. There are old emotions that try to rise up again, but you chose peace. You chose to stay grounded. Heaven saw it and counted it as maturity. You think your spiritual growth is minor because it isn't dramatic, but God doesn't measure growth by noise. He measures growth by direction. You have been moving in the right direction, even when life feels chaotic. Heaven sees your progress before you feel it. You see your weakness. God sees your willingness. You see your flaws. God sees your fight. You see your struggles. God sees your spirit choosing him again and again. Where you saw just a small act, heaven saw a seed. And seeds are never insignificant. Seeds become breakthroughs. Seeds become strength. Seeds become testimonies. Seeds become harvest. Every time you choose kindness, every time you choose faith, every time you choose God's way over your own desire, you plant something in the spiritual realm that heaven values deeply. God isn't counting your mistakes. He's counting your growth. He isn't replaying your failures. He's recording your progress. He isn't disappointed that you're not perfect. He's delighted that you're becoming more like him one choice at a time. The things you did today, the choices you made, the battles you fought, were not unnoticed. Heaven saw all of it. Heaven celebrated all of it. You didn't hear applause, but heaven was applauding. You didn't receive congratulations, but heaven congratulated you. You didn't get a pat on the back, but heaven honored you. Today, you gave heaven a reason to celebrate because you walked in quiet obedience, sincere faith, and hidden strength. These are the things that touch God's heart most. There are victories in your life that you won privately. Victories only God knows about, and those victories are shaping your destiny. They are building your character. They are strengthening your spirit. They are aligning you with your purpose. What looks small today is preparing you for something big tomorrow. Nothing done with sincerity is ever wasted. Nothing done with faith is ever ignored. Nothing done with a pure heart is ever too small for heaven to celebrate. You are growing more than you realize. You are changing more than you see. You are becoming stronger in ways you have not yet recognized. Heaven is proud of you. God is pleased with you. And the small things you did today, the tiny yes, the quiet obedience, the whispered prayers, are opening doors in the spiritual realm that you don't even know exist yet. Chosen one, never again say your effort doesn't matter. It matters more than you know. Heaven sees it. God values it. And today, heaven celebrated because of you. You've been carrying the weight of expectations that were never meant for your shoulders, quietly wondering if your flaws disqualify you from God's love, God's purpose, or God's approval. You've looked at your weaknesses and convinced yourself they overshadow your heart, but God has been watching far deeper than your fears allow you to see. You've judged yourself according to moments, but God judges you according to direction. And even when your steps trembled, even when your confidence faded, even when you didn't feel holy, worthy, or strong, your heart kept turning toward him. That alone made heaven take notice. In the places where you felt broken, God saw openness. In the moments where you felt lost, God saw longing. In the times you felt unworthy, God saw humility. You look at your life and see imperfections, but God looks at you and sees a journey, one where every detour, every stumble, and every hesitation still led you closer to him. You've been fighting battles that nobody else knew existed, and God counted every one of them as victories. You didn't realize it, but there were nights you survived that were meant to break you. There were temptations you resisted that were meant to trap you. There were emotions you navigated that were meant to drown you. And each time you pressed forward, even just a little, heaven leaned in and whispered, "Look at this one, still choosing me." You replayed your mistakes like they define you, but God has already separated those moments from who you are becoming. You convinced yourself that God must be disappointed, but nothing in your recent days or quiet choices has pushed him away. In fact, the opposite is true. Your vulnerability has drawn him closer. He has been watching the quiet shifts in your heart, the subtle changes in how you respond, the softer spirit within you that the world doesn't notice. You've been growing in ways you haven't even recognized yet. Growth doesn't always feel like triumph. Sometimes it feels like breaking, surrendering, releasing, realigning. And every one of those uncomfortable moments has been shaping you into who he called you to be. There were tears you cried that nobody saw, and God counted them as prayers. There were moments when your strength dissolved, and God counted your endurance as faithfulness. There were days you didn't feel spiritual, but still refused to drift away, and God called that loyalty. You think God is measuring your life with a scale of successes and failures, but he's been measuring your heart, its direction, its longing, its sincerity. And your heart, even in its most fragile condition, has been leaning toward him. There is something sacred about a soul that refuses to give up on God, even when life feels heavy, confusing, or unfair. And that's what heaven saw in you. When you doubted yourself, heaven didn't doubt you. When you felt far from God, heaven saw you reaching for him. When you thought your journey was slow, heaven saw consistency. And even when you slipped, heaven celebrated the fact that you didn't stay down. You rose. You tried again. You set your heart back toward God, and that is what pleases him more than anything. If you could see yourself from God's perspective, even for a moment, you would realize how deeply he delights in you, not in a future version of you, not in a perfected version of you, not in the version you think you need to become, but in you right now, in your efforts, in your repentance, in your small, quiet decisions to keep choosing good, in the strength you show on days when you feel empty, in the hope you refuse to lose, even when life gives you reasons to. God is not focused on where you fell. He is focused on where you've been trying to rise. You've been faithful in hidden places, and heaven honors that. You've been growing in silence, and God celebrates that. You've been learning lessons that hurt, but those lessons have been refining you. You've been giving God your heart in pieces, and he's been carefully shaping each one. You've been carrying burdens that nobody knows about, but God has been strengthening you through each step. And today, heaven smiled because of who you are becoming. Not perfect, but progressing. Not flawless, but faithful. Not finished, but deeply aligned with God's heart. The angel saw the direction of your spirit and rejoiced. God looked at you and felt pleased. You may not feel worthy of that, but worthiness was never the requirement. Willingness was. And you have been willing. Willing to grow, willing to try, willing to surrender, willing to return to God even when you felt far away. That willingness is the reason God is not finished with you. It is the reason the next chapter of your life carries blessing. It is the reason favor surrounds you more than you realize. It is the reason heaven has been speaking your name today. You are becoming someone with depth, with compassion, with discernment. Someone who has been shaped by struggle but not defeated by it. Someone who has walked through darkness but kept a spark of light alive. Someone who has been tested, stretched, purified, and prepared. You may feel ordinary, but heaven sees someone chosen. You may feel flawed, but heaven sees someone growing. You may feel tired, but heaven sees someone rising. And while you're busy pointing out everything that is wrong with you, God is pointing to everything that is right. You've been changing quietly, healing slowly, strengthening deeply, aligning spiritually. And whether you see it or not, Heaven sees it clearly. This is why heaven smiled today. Not because you reach perfection, but because you are walking in the right direction. And God is pleased. More than you know, more than you feel, more than you believe. He is pleased with the direction of your heart. And that chosen one is the reason grace is coming, breakthrough is forming, and favor is shifting in your direction. Heaven has been watching you far more closely than you realize, and nothing you have done in faith has been overlooked. There were days when you made choices that cost you something, choices that nobody applauded, choices that pulled you away from comfort, choices that tested your character. You sowed seeds when you felt empty. You remained righteous when it would have been easier to give in. You held on to God when everything in your life felt uncertain. None of that disappeared into silence. Heaven recorded every moment. God heard every whisper. And the reason you are hearing this right now is because the spiritual atmosphere around your life has shifted. You didn't see it happening. It didn't make noise when it changed. But in the unseen, something moved. Something opened. Something aligned. Something attached to your obedience began to activate. You were faithful in places where nobody else would have noticed. And that faithfulness triggered a response in heaven that is now beginning to unfold on earth. You are not stepping into an ordinary time. You are entering a season marked by divine return, a season where what you planted in tears will rise back to you in strength. Where the quiet sacrifices you made will echo into blessings that feel effortless. You've been asking yourself, when will things finally shift for me? When will the heaviness break? When will I see the fruit of my faith? And heaven has been quietly answering, soon, very soon. You didn't realize it, but today something tipped. The scales that once felt weighted against you have now balanced in your favor. God did not forget the times you obeyed with trembling hands, when you doubted yourself but trusted Him anyway, when you were hurting but still chose righteousness, when you were exhausted but still remained faithful to your calling, your character, your conscience, and your Creator. Heaven is honoring that now. You are stepping into a time when doors that were locked for years will begin to open with unusual ease. You won't have to force them. You won't have to beg for opportunities. What belongs to you will start moving toward you because God Himself is breathing on your path. Strength will rise in you without the striving that once drained your spirit. You will wake up with clarity where confusion once lived. You will feel a new internal boldness where insecurity once whispered. This season is not about you trying harder. It is about God responding louder. There is a favor going before you that you won't be able to explain. People will show you kindness without knowing why. Conversations will shift in your direction. Rooms you thought you didn't belong in will begin to make space for you. Opportunities that once seemed intimidating will suddenly feel aligned. This is not coincidence. This is divine orchestration. Heaven has begun to move on your behalf, and the spiritual return from your obedience is manifesting into the natural world around you. Even your atmosphere is changing. You will sense peace settling over your spirit in ways that don't match your circumstances. You will experience moments of clarity that feel supernatural. You will feel God's nearness in places where you used to feel alone. This peace you're about to step into isn't fragile, it's anchored. It's the kind of peace that comes when heaven testifies over your life. This one has been faithful. This one has been obedient. This one is ready. You didn't earn this season by perfection. You stepped into it through perseverance. Every decision you made to remain pure in your intentions, even when others misunderstood you, heaven took note. Every moment you resisted the easy path because you knew it was the wrong one, heaven recorded it. Every seed you sowed when you had little left to give, heaven held it. Every act of faith you performed while shaking on the inside, heaven honored it. These things weren't wasted. Not a single act of obedience slipped into nothingness. God is a meticulous recorder of faith, and now what was sown in the unseen is rising into your visible reality. Today was not ordinary. Something shifted in your story. Something aligned that had been out of place for years. A prophetic release unfolded around your life, marking the end of one spiritual season and the beginning of another. You may have felt a strange heaviness earlier, or maybe an unexplainable calm, or a sudden sense of inner knowing. Those were not random. That was heaven adjusting things around you, preparing you for what is next. This new season is not about struggle. It's about flow. It's not about fighting the same battles. It's about stepping into the reward of having endured them. You survived things that were meant to break you, and that survival became the seed of your breakthrough. You made choices that heaven is now multiplying back to you. God is not simply watching your journey. He is now stepping into it with visible intervention. Where you once had to push, now things will unfold. Where you once had to wait, now things will accelerate. Where you once questioned if God still saw you, now you will see undeniable signs that He never took His eyes off of you for a moment. This season has divine fingerprints all over it, and you are walking into a chapter that only obedience could have unlocked. Your quiet yes, your hidden faithfulness, your silent sacrifices, they became keys. And today, those keys have turned locks in the spiritual realm. You may not feel different yet, but your future does. Your atmosphere does. Your destiny does. What's coming toward you now is not random. It is a response, a divine response, a holy acknowledgement, a release from heaven to earth, tied directly to the posture of your heart. This is the moment where your story shifts from sowing to reaping, from waiting to walking, from questioning to witnessing. God is honoring your heart in ways you will soon see unfold clearly. This is your season of divine return, divine access, divine alignment. Heaven has moved, and nothing in your life will remain the same. Chosen one, listen closely, because what is being spoken over your life in this moment is not ordinary. You are more loved than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. You are more seen than your mind can comprehend. You are more celebrated in heaven than you have ever imagined. There is a joy that God carries when He looks at you, a joy that is not fragile, not dependent on your perfection, not tied to your performance. His delight over you is steady, unshaken, unwavering. It is a kind of delight that shifts atmospheres and rearranges destinies. You have spent so much time trying to measure yourself against standards that were never meant for you. You've wondered if you've done enough, prayed enough, been strong enough. You've questioned whether God approves of you, whether heaven is disappointed, whether your mistakes overshadow your progress. But here's the truth heaven is speaking right now. God's approval of you is not temporary. His love for you does not flicker. His joy over you is not based on your flawless execution of life. It is based on your heart, your willingness, your sincerity, your desire for Him even when you feel unworthy of Him. God's hand has been on you in ways you haven't yet recognized. He has guided you through valleys you didn't have the strength to walk on your own. He has shielded you from attacks you never knew were coming. He has reordered your steps when you thought you were lost. He has whispered strength into your spirit when your mind was tired. He has placed you under a covering of favor that is becoming more visible with each passing day. Even when you felt forgotten, heaven was working. Even when you felt overlooked, God was preparing something only you could step into. You need to understand this. God is not reluctantly watching your journey. He is joyfully invested in it. His eyes are on your growth, your healing, your calling. His attention toward you is full of love, not judgment. And because His delight over you is increasing, everything around you is about to shift. What felt heavy will begin to ease. What felt stuck will begin to move. What felt delayed will begin to accelerate. When heaven is pleased, earth responds. Realities change. Obstacles weaken. Opportunities awaken. What once resisted you will begin to make room for you. There are battles that have been draining you. Quiet, internal battles you didn't tell anyone about. Heaven has seen those battles, and they are weakening even now. The pressure you've been under is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign that breakthrough is near. The resistance you felt was not a blockade. It was a confirmation that something powerful has been forming around your life. And now, because God's delight is resting on you, those battles must bow. The spiritual tension around you is loosening. The heaviness is lifting. Chains are cracking. Doors are unlocking. Delays that once frustrated you are breaking right now. What you thought was God holding back was actually God setting up. You weren't denied. You were being aligned. The waiting wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And now, in this season of divine favor, things that took years will begin to move in moments. Things that seem impossible will happen naturally. What once felt out of reach will suddenly feel placed into your hands. Miracles will not creep into your life. They will accelerate toward you. Heaven has already begun moving in your direction, and nothing can stop what God has started. God's delight over you is not silent. It is not small. It carries authority. It carries weight. When heaven rejoices over someone, destiny begins to align itself. Paths straighten. Hearts heal. Purpose awakens. This is why your next chapter has already begun, even if you haven't seen the full evidence yet. Something opened in the spiritual realm the moment heaven declared, "This one is mine. This one pleases me. This one is stepping into what I have ordained." Your life is not going backward. It is being propelled forward. Walk boldly now. Walk like someone who is covered. Walk like someone who is chosen. Walk like someone heaven celebrates, because that is what you are. You are not walking into blessing alone. Heaven is standing with you. You are not stepping into your next season unprotected. God's favor surrounds you like a shield. You are not entering this new chapter unsure. God has already written victories into the pages ahead. You don't need to fear what comes next. What's coming has been shaped by God's love, sealed by God's approval, and released by God's delight. There is a new confidence rising in you. Not the confidence of the world, but the confidence that comes from knowing heaven is backing you. You no longer have to walk like someone uncertain, hoping life will be kind to you. You can walk like someone who knows the author of your story has decided to elevate you. You can walk like someone whose battles are already being fought by angels. You can walk like someone whose heart brings joy to God Himself. That realization changes everything. It changes your posture. It changes your perspective. It changes your expectations. You are stepping into a chapter where you will feel God's love more tangibly, His guidance more clearly, His presence more consistently. You will sense strength in places that once felt weak. You will feel courage in areas where fear used to speak loudly. You will experience clarity where confusion once clouded your vision. This is what happens when God delights in someone. Clarity comes, peace comes, opportunities come, and breakthroughs unfold without the strain you once carried. Chosen one, lift your head, not because everything is perfect, but because heaven is smiling over you. Move forward, not because you have every answer, but because God's favor is going before you. Breathe deeply, not because the path is easy, but because the one who walks beside you is faithful. You are stepping into a future shaped by God's joy, and that joy will carry you into places you never imagined possible. Your next chapter has already begun, and it is filled with the kind of grace, favor, and divine alignment that only heaven can release. Walk boldly. Heaven is with you. God is delighted in you, and nothing can stop what He's prepared for you now.